We tend to view the end of a life as a definitive stop, of physical cessation that marks the absolute limit of existence. When the breath stops, the narrative we've built around a person appears to simply vanish. This perspective assumes the body is the entirety of the self. Yet every cell in our physical form is on loan from the earth, destined to eventually return to the dust. In this light, the flesh acts less like a permanent foundation and more like a temporary garment that we eventually outgrow. We focus on the closing of the eyes, but that ending is only what is visible from the outside. Hidden behind that conclusion is a beginning we aren't equipped to see, a transition into a state that doesn't rely on physical machinery. The fear of mortality stems from this microscopic vantage point. We mistake the shedding of an outer layer for the destruction of the entity inside it. Consider how we perceive the movement of the sun. From a fixed spot on the ground, we watch the light dip below the horizon and conclude that the day has died. But the sun hasn't gone anywhere. The setting is an illusion of geometry. It results from the observer rotating away, rather than the light ceasing to exist. The exact moment light vanishes in the west, it actively appears in the east. The transition is simultaneous. This same logic applies to the transition of the soul. What looks like a final departure from one perspective is a necessary arrival from another. If existence is a continuous path, then moving beyond the horizon of the physical world implies a presence in whatever lies beyond that line. Disappearance, in a cosmic sense, is usually just a matter of perspective. We fear the dark not because the light is gone, but because we are currently standing in the shadow of our own world. The physical body serves a specific and highly temporary function. It is a structure built to navigate a world of gravity and matter, a temporary enclosure housing something much larger than itself. When that enclosure reaches its limit, the moment of loss becomes a threshold. The stone walls give way to an open doorway, revealing a light without the boundaries of the world. Passing through this threshold requires leaving behind the tools of the material world. Even the key is dropped on the cold stone, as the weight of physical things has no place in a realm defined by love. Mourning the remains of a life is like staring at an empty cage long after the occupant has left. The cage hasn't been destroyed, it has simply fulfilled its purpose of holding the bird until it was ready for the open sky. The threshold of death is an exit. It was designed to release us into the very space the body was meant to protect us from. There is a tradition of dying before dying, of training the mind to accept this transition while we are still very much alive. This means confronting the ego, the internal sense of I, that insists it must remain separate and protected within its own small borders. We view our identity like a single drop of water. We spend our lives terrified that if we lose our shape, we will be deleted from existence. But look at the mechanics of a drop hitting the ocean. The impact isn't an ending. The individuals don't disappear. Only the surface tension, the thin skin that kept the drop isolated, is destroyed. The water itself remains. The drop doesn't become nothing. By losing its individual borders, it acquires the volume and the power of the entire sea. To live without fear is to recognize that our individual separation is the real illusion. We are not losing ourselves. We are returning to the total. From a high enough perspective, the line we draw between life and death fades. These are human definitions for a cycle that doesn't recognize boundaries. In this state, the consciousness unbinds from time and space. The separation we felt so intensely on Earth simply dissolves. When the I is gone, the struggle ends. Only the infinite remains.
The ocean was within you. It was the one who was walking through you.